Welcome back, eTeachers. In this section, we're going to talk about Google Classroom as a classroom management system. So to get started, you first go to classroom.google.com, and it will request that you enter your Gmail account and password. Okay, note that you must use your G Suite School Gmail address to access the classroom features. You cannot access these from a personal account. Now, we are on the dashboard of Google Classroom. To create a new class, you can click on this plus or add icon on the right here and select Create Class. Here, enter your class name, add the section. You can put the grade level of your students, for example, and add the subject you're teaching. For room, you can use a group number, classroom number, or just leave it blank. I'll just leave it blank. Then hit Create. Now this is our new class. You can see on the top here are 4 tabs: Stream, Classwork, People, and Grades, to help you organize your class. The first one, Stream, is to help you communicate with your students, such as by sending them announcements. The second one is Classwork, where you can create and view the assignments and activities for your class. The third one here is People, where you can view your students and add a co-teacher. And the last one, Grades, is where you can view student grades or give student grades. Okay, so first things first, let's see how to create a new announcement. So first, click this space with the label, Share Something with Your Class. And then here you can enter something that you want to share. This sample lesson we're going to create is about recipes, so I might want to share a recipe with my students. I'll type a little note here, and if you want to add an attachment, you can do that. You can choose to add an attachment from either Google Drive, a link, a file, or even a YouTube video. So for now, I'm just going to upload a picture. Okay, so now I can hit Post to send this announcement to my students. Okay, and if you've previously created an announcement and you want to use it again, then you can just use this feature, Reuse Post. Okay, I have a couple of archived classes. I can go to any of these and select one assignment that I sent before and hit Reuse. Now I can edit that post here. This, of course, is a big time saver. If I want to post a similar announcement to an earlier post, I just reuse it and edit it. If I don't want to make any changes, I can hit Post directly, or I can schedule a post, or save it as a draft. Let's take a look at how to schedule it. This is another convenient feature, as Classroom will send it to the students whenever you like. Okay, maybe I want to send it at 9 o'clock. I can just schedule it so this announcement will be automatically sent at that time. So now I've made 2 announcements. To manage your announcements, what you can do is go to your announcements here, and you'll see the 3-dot icon. That will always give us a little menu of options. You can choose that and click Edit to make changes. Or you can delete the announcement if you no longer want it in your stream. You also have the option to copy a link to your announcement to share it on another platform, such as your class blog or the school LMS. So links give you a variety of posting options. You can use it to invite your students to comment on the announcement as well. Okay, that's all about Stream. Now we're going to introduce Classwork. As I mentioned before, Classwork is where you can assign homework to your students. After choosing the Classwork tab, you hit the Create button to get started. So the first question we're going to ask is a very short, quick question. You can type it here. I'll ask a question about fish and chips. If you want to make it a multiple choice question or short answer question, you can do that by choosing the question type here. Below the question, if you like, you can enter the instructions for your question. Okay, after you complete the instructions, you enter the answer options for the students right here. And after you do that, you can click this paperclip icon to add an attachment. So Google Classroom gives you several options, including adding files from Google Drive, a link, an uploaded file, or a YouTube video. Because I ask my students to watch a video before they answer the question, I will click the YouTube option here to attach my video. I find my video by using this search bar, and then I select the video I want and hit Add, and this video will be attached to my assignment. Now I can assign this question, or a series of questions if I prefer, to my students. I use these two fields to choose which group and which specific students in that group I assign the question to. Normally we'll just send it to all students. Classroom has already filled it out for me based on my workflow, so the default is often the option that you'll want. Okay, here I can change the number of the points I'm going to give to this question and set a due date for it, including the time of day. So for topic, I'll introduce that later in this video. Pay attention to this option, students can see class summary. If I tick that, it means that other students who've completed their question will see their classmates' responses. That might be useful for a review or for discussing a topic, especially such as asking students' opinion or debating a topic or getting some kind of personal experience. So that is a useful option. But you will want to untick that box for uniform comprehension type questions where you don't want the students to see each other's answers. Finally, I can simply click Ask here to submit this question. Okay, for the next type of assignment we're going to look at, we could give our students a quick quiz assignment. Now in Google Classroom, a quiz assignment is based on using Google Forms. So you can see right here is a Google Form attachment for you. As before, we need to enter the titles for our students and any instructions for the quiz. After you have created the title and instructions, you'll need to click on the form to create the specific questions in Google Forms. Now in this video, I'm not going to show you how to create questions in forms because we have a separate section in this course about how to do that. So if you don't know how to use the various features of Google Forms, be sure to complete that section of the course as well. Okay, here I've just inserted the form that I created for my students for the quiz assignment. So after I created this quiz, I can go back to my Google Classroom, and here I've activated grades importing. That means there are grades from Google Forms that will be imported to my Google Classroom. So I don't need to import the grades manually. This is very useful, of course. Okay, so if you've created the question already, then you need to assign it to your students. Just follow some of the same steps as before. On the right, you see the class and students you want to assign the quiz to. You may want to adjust the number of points for the quiz, so you can do that. And you can also set the due date. Now, we won't use a rubric for this quiz, as it will be automatically graded by Google Forms. But if you want to use a rubric, you could add that here. That could be very useful, especially for test or exam or some self-assessment practice purposes. Check for plagiarism is an advanced feature that will be available if your school enrolled in G Suite Enterprise for Education. Otherwise, you'll only have access to 5 reports. So this feature can normally be turned off and ignored, or just hit Continue. For now, to assign the quiz, I am going to click Assign to send the assignment to the selected class and students. Okay, so I've created both a question and a quiz, which you can see here. The next thing I'm going to do is to create an assignment. So the start here looks the same as a quiz, but The important difference is that Classroom will not use forms to create a quiz for you here. In this assignment section, if you need any attachment added, you're going to choose that and attach it yourself. So now I'll quickly create a new assignment and add some instructions as an example. Okay, once you've created your assignment title and instructions, you can add any additional materials as necessary. Because this assignment requires students to submit their answers based on a template that I gave them, I'm going to attach a Google slide that I have made. Here I've added the template I made for my students from Google Drive, and you see the options here. Students can either view file, add a file, or make a copy. In this case, I'm going to invite students to make a copy of it so that they can have their own copy of the recipe. Then, of course, they can add their own work directly to that file. So each of them will have an original slide. All right, once you have prepared the assignment, you can begin to assign it as before. Here again is the class, the students, the number of points. You can change the points and the due date. I will introduce this topic feature a bit later, as I mentioned. So for here, I want to introduce this very helpful feature. All right, so as you know, rubrics are helpful as a guide to the students and for your marking for many types of assignments, including open-ended questions. You might want to add a rubric to help you clarify the grading criteria to your students, so that they can understand the expectations very clearly. So let's take a look at how to create a rubric in Google Classroom. First things first, you're going to enter the title for your criteria. I'm going to keep this simple for demo purposes and just put organization for the criterion, and for the description, I will put the same. Okay, so for the points, put the number of points that you want to give for this level. So I think 20 is about right. And for the level title, you can put 1 or 2 or 3. For me, I'm going to put an emoji here and also a description that explains what it is. And to add another level, you can simply click on this plus icon and add the points and the emoji and the description. So the workflow is very intuitive and quite easy here. If you want to remove this level for any reason, you can go to this button with 3 dots again in the corner and delete this level, or you can just continue creating your levels and criteria. All right, so you've created one criterion for assessment or evaluation, but maybe it's not enough to cover all of the objectives of the assignment. So here you can add another criterion. Or as a shortcut, you can go to expand this menu with the 3 dots and hit duplicate. Well, that makes it easy for you if all the levels are similar. So what you can do is just rename the title and the description. So now you already have a second criterion. All right, so if you click again, you can see that here are more options. You can delete this criterion or you can move it up to the top. So for now, our presentation appears at the top. So once you have created your rubric, you can hit save. But this time, I'm not going to hit save the rubric because I wanted to show you another feature. I will just discard this change that I made and I'll hit the rubric again. So here you can actually reuse a rubric that you had created and which you used for an earlier assignment, whether for the same class or a different class. So I had created this rubric for one of my archive classes, so I can go to that class, select the title, and use the rubric again directly. Easy, very cool. All right, so I'm now ready to give this assignment to my students. So I could just hit the assign button to send it to the students as I did before. But this time I wanted to show you another feature of Google Classroom, that you can use. If you go to this arrow icon next to Assign, you can see that you can either assign, schedule, or save it as a draft, or you have the option of delete the draft entirely. This time, imagine I am preparing an assignment for later on. I don't have to come back to it to assign it later. I can just schedule it. This feature allows teachers to let the app do the work for them. You can schedule your activities, questions, reminders, and quizzes for any time that you like, and let Classroom act as your personal assistant and send it when you're ready. All right, this assignment is now scheduled for 10 o'clock. The next thing we're going to learn together, again starting from the Create button in Classwork, will be how to create material. This is not a traditional graded assignment. Material is very useful when you want to provide reference material for students or if you want to provide resources for them. Here, you can add any number of resources for students. This can be an extension work assignment or catering to students at different levels or abilities, or for self-guided activities to help them explore a topic for revision, for extension, or for enhancement. So in this case, I am not going to create the material here and now because I want to show you how to reuse posts. These are posts that you have already made and you want to reuse again directly or adapt. Once we click Reuse Post, you can see the questions that I made previously. So if you click Extension here, this is all the material I created earlier. So once I hit Reuse, I already have these pre-made material ready to go. So I simply hit Post. It's a very easy way to use the material that you prepared in advance or that you have previously used. Okay, now I've created all the assignments needed for my students for this lesson. Now, if you want to view the assignment, you can click on it and then hit View Material, which shows you all the material here. And then, for example, you want to view this particular assignment, you just hit View Assignment, and then you can see the data on whether or not your students have submitted their work. Okay, if you want to go back to the question you asked, you can click on Instruction. So here you see your questions and instructions from the student's perspective. All right, if you want to access other options for an assignment, you can hover over these three dots, allowing you to edit the assignment, or you can delete it, or you can copy this link and share it with your students, again, through any of various means such as email or on another platform like blog or LMS. So now we have created 4 assignments in this demo. But of course, when you're using Classroom regularly, you'll want to organize the material. And the best way to do that is by adding topics. So to do that, you go to Create and then find Topic to create a topic heading. I'm going to write Food because this lesson is about recipes and fish and chips, etc. So after writing the topic name, I will click Add. Now that I have my topic here, I can drag the assignments that I want to include one by one to this topic. Okay, now all the assignments are organized under the topic of food. To change the name, you can click these 3 dots and then hit Rename, or you can delete the topic, or just copy the topic and invite your students to view all of the assignments. Okay, now that you have organized your assignments, it's time for you to invite your students. You can click People, and here hit Invite. And you have 2 options. You can type students' names and email to invite them, or you can just copy the link and share it directly with your students by whatever means is convenient for you. Including, in addition to email and blogs and LMS, you could also via a worksheet, for example. Okay, here is where you can also invite other teachers to be a co-teacher. So you can search for your colleague and then hit invite. And once they've accepted your invitation, they'll join your class and you'll see them here. Okay. After students have completed the assignments as you required, you can view their assignments and grade their assignments here by clicking this last tab at the top called Grades. Here you'll see an overview of all the assignments and grades. We have just a handful of students as we're just previewing classroom features, but all of your students will be shown here, of course. So if you want to view and grade the assignment one by one, you choose one of the assignments at the top. So here is a multiple choice question, and on the right you can see a summary of student responses. Now if you click on a response, you can see which students have submitted this response to this assignment. This is also where you can view your students' responses one by one. So you click on a student name to see their response, and here you can give a grade. Now if you don't like the student response, you can always click on this window and click Return. That will return the assignment to the student where they can continue to work on it. In the meanwhile, when a student is selected, this field at the page bottom is where you can leave your comments or feedback to the students. Now it is a private comment, so other students won't see it. Or alternatively, you can go to this envelope icon to email your feedback to your student. You can choose multiple students by ticking the boxes next to their name, or click here to select all of the students and email them all at once to give general comments or feedback to the whole group. Okay, so now you might need to sort your student responses, which you can do by clicking on the drop-down menu, Sort by Answer. And here you can sort by last name, first name, and also status. So status is helpful, as you can sort by the students who have turned in their assignments and those who haven't, which makes it easy to direct different messages to them if you'd like to do that. Okay, now let's go back to the dashboard of this gradebook, and you can choose another assignment to grade. Remember that this particular assignment was built in Google Forms, which will mark the multiple choice and short answer questions for you. But you may have included some open-ended questions as well. Remember, for more details about using Google Forms, just check out the Google Forms section of this training course. Okay, let's go back to Classroom to see another cool feature to help you with your assessment. After you've graded the assignment in Google Forms, you can import all the grades by clicking Import Grades here. And on the left, you can see the grades you've already imported from Google Forms. If you want to revise the grade, you simply click on it and change the score right here. As we saw before, you can return the assignment to the student so they can redo it if you think that's helpful or necessary. And in this bottom field here is again where you give your private feedback to your students. Right now, the last assignment we're going to grade together will be a Google Slides assignment. So again, you can select the student to see their response. Now for this Slides assignment, which we created earlier, on the right you'll see here is the rubric that we made. So you can give your grade according to your rubric. Here you'll see a summary of the grade. And if you want to leave a comment, again, you can do that. Now that comment field is here on the bottom right. You can always choose the option of returning an assignment to the student to continue working on it or redo it. Or if you're happy with it, you can move on to the next student and continue grading. But now let's go back to Classroom and take a look at how you can manage all of your classes. So to get back to your dashboard, you click on this menu icon with 3 lines next to your class name. And at the top here, you can choose Classes, and it will show you all of the classes you've created. To access more options for this class, you click on the 3 dots, and here you can choose to copy the link to the class so that students can join it directly, or you can edit the class information or copy the class if you want to duplicate it. So for example, if we're going to teach another section of this class, or we're teaching the same class in the following year. Or you can also move over to the right top, this add icon, and click on this to create a completely new class. So you have all of these options available from this page. Going back to this 3-dot menu, the last option at the bottom is the archive feature, which I'd like to show you. This is useful when you have finished teaching the class, but you want to keep a copy of that class, as of course you've created a lot of useful resources, so you can store it away by clicking Archive. If you want to access any of your archived classes, of course you can go back to this menu and click Archived Classes, and you will see all of your old or discontinued classes conveniently stored away for you there. Now you can easily organize these classes by clicking and dragging, or you can click on the 3 dots icon to give you more options, such as duplicate, restore, which will move it out of the archives, or you can delete the whole class. Okay, before we wrap it up, let me mention these 2 important icons for each class as well. This lightning arrow icon gives you quick access to the gradebook for your class. And if you want to access all the information about your class, you can click this folder icon, and it will direct you to the Google Drive folder for that class, where you can see all the assignments you've created, including student responses and their grades as well. Okay, that's about it for this section. We have looked at many of the useful features of Google Classroom to help you begin to get familiar with it. Of course, as you explore it further, you will discover more, and especially when you begin to use it for your own teaching, you can find out just how convenient it is to help you get organized and adapt it to your own particular teaching needs. So let's wrap it up there, and we will see you in the next section.